Part 2. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 11. On Monday, May 27, at 8:50 in the morning, Xiaopinggan had arrived at the gate of the National Order Committee in Xianghe City. The address of the Xianghe City National Order Committee is in the north of Xianghe City, with the gate facing south. Within a few kilometers of the Order Committee, there is an empty wilderness without any other buildings. There is only one road from the city to here, and there is only one platform from the road to here. There is only one road from the platform to the entrance of the Order Committee. This road is more than 500 meters long. There are large green lawns on both sides of the road, and even a stone. There were no trees and everything was clearly visible. Under such circumstances, the black cubic building of the Xianghe City National Order Committee appears particularly dazzling and has an intimidating aura. There are various spherical, tower-shaped, and pot-lid-shaped satellite dishes, radars, and signal towers on the cube, making the cube look like a samurai wearing black armor holding a long contradiction sign, and also like a tower. A fortified castle. There is a tall granite wall surrounding the Order Committee, which looks quite mysterious. People can't see the situation inside at all from the outside. They only feel that it is very big inside, because they can see drones and helicopters inside. Take off. The door of the Order Committee was closed, and there were no guards or sentries standing guard at the door. Xiaopinggan walked over and saw the electronic display on the door light up, and a woman's face appeared behind the display. "Sir, what can I do for you?" My name is Xiaopinggan, and I made an appointment with Director Mo Yan to report here today." "Okay, please put your palm on the palm print scanner with the blue light flashing next to it, and look at the membrane identification port next to it with both eyes." Xiaopinggan put his palm on the scanner and looked at the mask identification port next to him. "Okay, your identity has been confirmed, please wait." Xiaopinggan waited at the door. After just waiting for a short while, the door automatically slid open. Behind the door, stood Mo Yanshao. Mo Yanshao was still wearing a black trench coat and black combat uniform, which was very cool. Next to Mo Yanshao, there was a middle-aged woman in her 40s wearing a white coat and glasses. Seeing Xiaopinggan, Mo Yanshao nodded and said without any nonsense, "You are on time. This is Dr. Huang. Dr. Huang will take you for a comprehensive physical examination to determine your ability. After you complete the examination, let's talk again." Xiaopinggan didn't say much, and followed Mo Yanshao and the woman in the white coat towards the black building. Walking into the building, there is an empty lobby with not many people coming and going. On the black marble floor of the lobby, there is a huge logo of the National Order Committee. The logo is an ancient scale, with two ends of the scale. On the sun and moon, a two-headed dragon is coiled on the scale, with one dragon claw holding a sword and another dragon claw holding a shield. The sword and shield are crossed in the middle of the scale to maintain the balance of the scale. There is a row of elevators in the lobby. Everything seems orderly and there are not many people in sight. Xiaopinggan separated from Mo Yanshao here and followed Dr. Huang into an elevator. The elevator went upwards and reached the third floor in the blink of an eye. The elevator door opened with a ding. In the corridor outside, there were people wearing white coats. "Staff, the ground is spotless, it's like a hospital or a scientific research institute." Dr. Huang called over a person who looked like a nurse and asked that person to take Xiaopinggan to the disinfection room for disinfection. Then he went to the men's locker room and changed into a set of blue sterile clothes from head to toe, then took Xiaopinggan to a room. Height, weight, blood pressure were measured, photographs were taken, body surface examination was performed, and then blood and saliva were taken first, and finally he entered an instrument cabin with many things on his head and body. After Xiaopinggan entered the instrument cabin, he found that the instrument cabin was turning over and over for more than 10 minutes. It almost made his head spin before he stopped. It took more than an hour to complete the set of procedures. After he came out of the instrument cabin, Dr. Huang took him to a black room and started talking to Xiaopinggan. Mr. Xia, how much do you know about the classification of remote viewing abilities? Dr. Huang asked. I don't know, Xiaopinggan shook his head. Dr. Huang stroked his glasses, took out a folder and a pen, and started his routine. Remote viewing ability is a relatively rare awakening ability, but throughout the ages, there are not a few people who have awakened the ability of remote viewing. In ancient China, the awakened remote viewing ability was called clairvoyance. There are also many people abroad who have awakened the ability of remote viewing. After years of research after exploring, various countries now divide the various abilities of awakened people into S level, A level, B level, C level, D level, E level, F level, and G level to distinguish different levels. Awakening ability, and several major countries have developed a set of scientific methods to accurately evaluate awakening ability. It may sound contradictory to use scientific methods to evaluate something that science cannot yet explain. This classification standard is similar to the standard for space invasion. It's almost the same, so it's easier for everyone to understand. The next test I'm going to do for you is to determine which level your remote viewing ability belongs to. Please be sure to cooperate with me to complete the next test. Let's start from a simple start. Okay, Xiaopinggan also wanted to see what level his remote viewing ability belonged to. He had never done such a test before, and he was also very curious. We have a table in the room opposite. Can you see the table in that room from here? Xiaopinggan closed his eyes and opened them after a second. You can see it? How many legs does that table have? Dr. Huang continued to ask. 6 items, Xiaopinggan replied affirmatively. Can you see clearly the colors corresponding to the numbers on the 6 legs? Yes, the colors of the 6 legs are numbered from 1 to 6, red, blue, black, white, and yellow. Very good, Dr. Huang asked while recording something in his notebook. Among the 6 table legs, one is hollow inside and contains several heroin pills. Can you see it? Xiaopinggan closed his eyes and shook his head. He really couldn't see the internal structure of the table. In this building, there are several rooms with identical tables. Can you tell me the house numbers of those rooms? Xiaopinggan closed his eyes, and in the blink of an eye, he saw several other rooms and the house numbers in the rooms, 201, 407, 1911, and number 371. There are 2 places where the same table is buried underground within 2 kilometers of this building. Can you identify the approximate area on the map where it is buried? Xiaopinggan closed his eyes for a moment, and then began to mark the 2 places on the map. In a certain building in Xianghe City, there is a place with the same table. Can you identify the location of that building? Xiaopinggan made another mark on the map of Xianghe City. Can you confirm which floor and room in the building that table is on? Xiaopinggan tried it and shook his head. These are several longitude and latitude coordinates on the map. Among these coordinates, there is a same table in one of the coordinates. Can you find it? Dr. Huang took out a pile of notes, all of which were on the map. The longitude and latitude coordinates are spread across all continents around the world. The farthest coordinate is more than 10,000 kilometers away from Xiaopinggan. Xiaopinggan shook his head, even breaking into a cold sweat. Can you see what kind of masked person entered room 201 and put the table there before you came? Dr. Huang took out a picture in front of Xiaopinggan. There were more than 10 people on the picture. A pair of masks with different peaking opera facial makeup. Xiaopinggan shook his head. He felt that this problem had exceeded the ability of remote viewing. It allowed him to cross the barrier of time to see what happened in the past related to that table. This ability was too terrifying. Can you predict the fate of the table in the room across from you in 1 minute? Xiaopinggan was silent for a moment, but still shook his head. Not long after he shook his head, a hole suddenly appeared in the ceiling of the room opposite, and a large red stone rolled down from the ceiling, smashing the table into pieces. A six-legged table raises countless strange questions. Dr. Huang asks Xiaopinggan back and forth for more than half an hour before finally ending the strange questions. Dr. Huang, what level does my remote viewing ability belong to? After the test just now, your remote viewing ability is at level F. Director Mose is also F level. This question involves the internal secrets of the Order Committee, and I have no right to tell you. Dr. Huang shook his head. Ha ha ha, let me change the question. I can't see the answers to the questions you just asked me. Is it possible to do it with higher level remote viewing capabilities, including seeing the past and future of that table? Situation, and you can see all the situations where the coordinates are located with just one map coordinate, and you can even see things hidden underground. Yes, some people have remote viewing capabilities that are more useful than reconnaissance satellites. In fact, decades ago, various countries have been studying the use of remote viewing capabilities in the military and national security fields. In the circle of awakened people, this does not mean it's not a secret, you will be exposed to it in the future. Xiaopinggan took a deep breath and said, "Okay, thank you Dr. Huang, I have no problem." A few minutes later, Xiaopinggan changed back into his clothes and left in the elevator. As soon as the elevator door opened, young Master Mo Yan stood in front of Xiaopinggan again, holding a document in his hand and looking at Xiaopinggan with a special look. "I can now officially inform you that according to the relevant laws and regulations of the country, because your awakened remote viewing ability can serve national security, and because you have performed well in the past, as a law-abiding citizen, without any illegal or criminal record, and you have acted bravely in the past. You have passed the review and been officially approved by the National Order Committee. Recruitment, from now on, you will become an action team member under the Special Operations Department of the National Order Committee of Xianghe City, sign this document." Xiaopinggan noticed that in the sentence just now, when Xiao Mo Yan mentioned no illegal or criminal record, the emphasis was on the words no and record, which seemed to imply something. Xiaopinggan looked at the recruitment document that started with the Order Committee logo and hesitated a little. If he really signed it, many things in the future would be out of his control. Haha, there's nothing to be hesitant about. How many people want to join the Order Committee but still can't get in? Apart from being a bit dangerous, everything else about our place is pretty good. We have high benefits, good treatment, good food, and many holidays. What excitement! Everything can happen to you. If you join, we will be colleagues from now on. You will have plenty of time even if you want to go on vacation in Strasbourg, France. Young Master Mo Yan looked at Xiaopinggan and smiled. Xiaopinggan glanced at young Master Mo Yan and laughed suddenly, then took the pen and signed the document happily. "It is my supreme honor to serve the country. I am very happy to join the Order Committee." Mo Yan took one look at the document signed by Xiaopinggan, smiled slightly, and put the document away. "Believe me, you won't regret it. I heard that those who join the Order Committee will ask to fuse the world beads and try to become a summoner. Yes, compared with ordinary people, the awakened person's fusion of the world bead will not cause rejection reactions, and there is one less factor of failure. Although there is a certain probability of losing one's life every time the person fuses the world bead, this is the responsibility of the awakened person. Obligations are also privileges. Pay and gain are equal, you won't refuse, right?" Xiaopinggan took a deep breath. "When will I merge?" "We are already applying. The higher UPS will approve it within 72 hours. Let's go. I'll take you around here first to familiarize yourself with the environment here." Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 12. Xiaopinggan followed Mo Yanxiao as he walked around the building. Mo Yanxiao introduced Xiaopinggan to the situation in the Order Committee while walking around. There were several naive robots walking around in the building. Mo Yanshao casually put the documents signed by Xiaopingan on the tray of a robot and asked the robot to send it to the archives room. The robot turned around and got on the elevator to deliver it. File. The main responsibilities of the Order Committee are to respond to space invasions and threats from alien creatures, as well as to deal with all incidents related to summoners, awakeners, and all supernatural forces that threaten national security and social stability. The National Order Committee's operational force in Xianghe City has two parts. One part is the Special Operations Division. The main personnel of the Special Operations Division are divided into two parts, one is combatants and the other is logistic support personnel. The combatants are mainly summoners, as well as awakened ones like you. The Special Operations Division is directly under my command. In addition to the Special Operations Division, there is a military base behind this building. There is a regiment of National Order Committee members in the base. Security Response Force. The leader of the Security Response Force is Colonel S.I. Shimming. Depending on the nature and difficulty of the task, the Security Response Force will cooperate with our actions, but sometimes the Special Operations Office will act alone. Sometimes we will receive calls from the Xianghe City Police, the Anti-Narcotics Department, the Department of Homeland Security and other departments. We will also perform some tasks with those departments, and you will know in the future. The two of them talked while walking. In just a few words, young Master Mo Yan took Xiaopingan to the door of an office with a sign of Finance Office. Young Master Mo Yan opened the door and walked in. The atmosphere in that office was relaxed, music was playing, and the aroma of coffee floated in the office. A plump woman in her 40s wearing a loose dress was taking care of a bonsai with a watering can in the office. She was quite leisurely and watching. After young Master Mo Yan came in, the aunt put down the watering can and called, "Director." "Well, this is Lu Qi, the financial director of our Special Operations Division." "You can just call her Sister Lu," Mo Yanshao said to Xiaopingan. "In the future, you can receive special activity funds or reimburse operation expenses right here." After talking to Xiaopingan, Mo Yanshao said to the aunt, "Sister Lu, this is a new member of the Special Operations Division. Please help him go through the financial procedures for joining the company according to the first-level salary of the Special Operations Division." "Okay." Sister Lu glanced at Xiaopingan, turned around, opened the drawer, took out a form and handed it over, smiling. "Young man, come here, sign here, and write down the beneficiary of your accident compensation here. Don't be nervous about the relationship between your name and yours. This is just a formality. The first level entry salary, the basic monthly salary is 69,000 yuan, which is paid on the first of every month. Action bonuses and special subsidies are not included. The salary card is given to you when the salary is paid. Accident compensation is based on the number of years of service in the Special Operations Division. Accumulation, the first year is 4 million, and then it goes up to 500,000 every year. A month's basic salary is 69,000 yuan, and it doesn't include quick action bonuses and special subsidies. This salary is not bad, it can be regarded as the salary of a senior white-collar worker. It's not the slightest bit better than being an auto mechanic before. Accident compensation is also a large sum of money. With such a stable salary, you can consider changing Xianing's place to live. Well, buy a house. Xianing has always wanted to have a stable home and no longer have to rent houses everywhere and pay rent every month. Xiaopingan thought to himself and quickly signed the form. As for the beneficiary, of course he wrote Xianing's name. After filling out the form, Xiaopingan handed it over. Sister Lu looked at it and nodded. "Okay." She put the form away and continued to take care of her potted plants. Young Master Mo Yan took Xia. He left the finance room safely. "Can I ask, what are the salary levels of the Special Operations Division?" Xiaopingan asked out of pure curiosity. "Level 19, Mo Yanshao smiled. "My salary is level 5, with a basic monthly salary of 390,000. The order committee will not be stingy with people with special abilities. The country will not let us bleed and suffer poverty. The highest annual salary of the summoners in the order committee is hundreds of millions, which is comparable to that of senior fund managers. There are no poor people in the Special Operations Department. Summoner with an annual salary of hundreds of millions? It seems that there are really no poor summoners. When you put it like that, I feel like I got a big advantage by coming here. Xiaopingan said to Mo Yanshao. You didn't take advantage either. The prices for hiring summoners and awakened ones are very high. Moreover, working here is a high-risk profession. This remuneration is still a friendly price for the sake of serving the country. Summoners and awakened people accept it outside. The cost of hiring other governments or large companies, large groups, and private wealthy people is even higher. Xiaopingan blinked. If you work here, can you still find opportunities to make extra money outside? Haha, you will know later that summoners are a scarce resource. Not every country or rich man can keep a group of summoners on standby like several big countries. I kind of understand what you said, Xiaopingan nodded. By the way, the order committee seems to prefer the number 9. My first level salary is 69,000 yuan, and your fourth level salary is 390,000 yuan. The entire salary does the system have 19 levels. Ha ha ha, you have also discovered that summoners are sometimes quite superstitious. This is a tradition left over many years. Everyone thinks that the number 9 is auspicious and symbolizes longevity, so the basic salary of all levels is 9. And the two people were talking and got on the elevator. Young Master Mo Yan pressed the button on the 7th floor. In the blink of an eye, the elevator quickly went down to the 7th underground floor. As soon as he opened the elevator door, Xiaopingan heard something in his ears. There were faint gunshots on this floor. This is the equipment warehouse and training ground of the Special Operations Division. You will definitely come here often in the future. After stepping out of the elevator, walking through a passage more than 20 meters long, and turning another corner, Xiaopingan felt like he had arrived at a large superstore. The store has a shiny floor and bright lights. It looks a bit like a place selling jewelry and luxury goods. It is very stylish. Behind a long counter and display window, there are product display racks one after another. Commodities can be described as a dazzling array of products. On the left side of the superstore are a variety of high-quality firearms, pistols, assault rifles, sniper rifles, submachine guns, and grenade snipers from all over the world. It can be said that there is everything you need. If there are firearms fans here, take a look. Seeing those dazzling array of firearms, you might faint from happiness. In the middle of the counter, there are all kinds of cold weapons, all kinds of daggers, long swords, broadswords, spears, nunchucks, darts, etc. Each weapon here has its own characteristics. Dazzling. On the right side of this counter, it is more like a big-name luxury store, with sparkling windows. There are neat suits, shirts, shoes, belts, watches, mobile phones, earrings, necklaces, and bags in the windows. Body armor, tactical vests, etc. The weapons here include high-quality products from various countries, and they can also be customized and modified according to needs. Those clothes may look ordinary to you, but in fact they are made of special polymer materials. Every shirt here is bulletproof and stab-proof function. The standard equipment of the Special Operations Office is distributed free of charge, but if you want to come here to customize some special things, it will cost money, and some things are very expensive. Yeah. Mo Yanshao rubbed his nose with emotion and smiled bitterly. When you receive your salary, you will feel that you are a rich person, but when you come here, you will find that you are a poor person. Two people were talking here, and a door behind the counter opened. A bald man with a big belly, gray hair, wearing glasses as thick as the bottom of a glass bottle, a pen on his ear, and a tape measure hanging on his shoulder. An old man wearing a gray shirt and denim overalls came out. "Director Mo, is there a newcomer again?" This old man feels like an old tailor. "Well, this is Xiaopingan, a newcomer from the Special Operations Division. This is Laozhou, Zhou Nian, the director of the Equipment Division. On this floor, he has the final say and everyone listens to him." Mo Yan Xiao told Xiaopingan, and the old man introduced each other. "Old Zhou, look at it, give him a new suit." "Newcomer suit, great," the old man smiled, glanced at Xiaopingan, and grinned. "Boy, come here, stretch out your hands and let me see what kind of suit you can use. Look at your hands. What are you doing? Are you reading palms here?" Xiaopingan glanced at young Master Mo Yan, and young Master Mo Yan just nodded to him and asked Xiaopingan to cooperate. Xiaopingan didn't say anything, just walked over and stretched out his hands. "Relax your hands," Laozhou said, and touched Xiaopingan's right hand, touching every knuckle and every hand bone on Xiaopingan's right hand, all the way from the fingertips to the shoulder. He also took out the tape measure on his body and measured the distance from Xiaopingan's wrist to elbow joint to shoulder, and then between the shoulders on both sides. After touching his right hand, Laozhou touched Xiaopingan's left hand again, using the same method to carefully touch, pinch, and measure it. After touching Xiaopingan's hand, Laozhou turned around and rummaged under the shelves. He first came over with a box, placed it in front of Xiaopingan, opened the box, and inside was a shining silver gun with a scope. "Large caliber revolver. Boy, the best pistol for you is this. It is an enhanced sniper version of the Manuel MR73 from the French Matre Defense Company. This gun is an improved version of the Manuel MR73. Its appearance is almost exactly the same as the MR73, but the caliber is a bit larger. The barrel is lengthened a little bit. The caliber of MR73 is 0.357, and the caliber of this gun is 0.5. This gun retains the competition-level shooting accuracy of MR73 to the greatest extent, is safe and reliable, and can also fire .50 Magnum high-power pistol bullets. The maximum kinetic energy is 3,100 joules, and it can bring down a wild bear. The sight on the gun was installed by Matre Defense Company when it was used by Special Forces. I think this design can embody the funny spirit of the Gallic chicken, so I decided to use it. It's retained. The kinetic energy of the muzzle is 3,100 joules. Damn, the kinetic energy of the muzzle of the AK-47 is only 2,000 joules. If the person using this gun does not have enough wrist strength, the gun will fly out of his hand after just one shot, or comes back and smacks him in the face. Before Xiaopingan could react, Laozhou went to the cold weapon shelf behind him and took out a black box. When the box was opened, it was rolled up like a cobra. It was dark and quite heavy steel whip. The handle of the steel whip is very thick and the tail becomes thinner. At first glance, it looks like a black cobra. Seeing Laozhou take out the box, Mo Yanxiao's brows moved, and he pointed at the black whip. "Old Zhou, the black cobra in your box has been here for many years, and no one has it can be used. Make sure he can use the contents of this box. If you don't use this whip well, you may hurt yourself." Laozhou glared at young Master Mo Yan and snorted stubbornly, "I'm not wrong. Others can't use it, but this guy can definitely use it. Even if he can't use it now, he will definitely be able to use it in the future. How about I get 24 of them, bet?" "Forget it," young Master Mo Yan rubbed his nose and did not make a bet with Laozhou. When Laozhou took out the shiny silver Manuan MR98, Xiaopingan's eyes only moved, not surprised, but when Laozhou took out the black steel whip in the second box, Xiaopingan was surprised. How could Laozhou know that he could use a whip? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 13. When leaving the equipment warehouse, Xiaopinghan had 2 more boxes in his hands. One box contained Manuan's MR98 sniper enhanced revolver and holster, and 100 rounds of large-caliber pistol steel core bullets. The other box contained the steel whip called the Black Cobra. These 2 weapons, especially the steel whip, are specially made and cannot be bought outside. Mo Yanshao felt a little strange about the 2 weapons that old Zhou chose for Xiaopinghan, but after all, he still didn't have the courage to challenge old Zhou's judgment. In this regard, old Zhou was the authority of the Xianghe City Order Committee. Xiaopinghan's mobile phone was left behind. Lao Zhou said that from now on, Xiaopinghan's mobile phone cannot be used and needs to be replaced with a special secure mobile phone. The mobile phones of the Order Committee are specially customized, more reliable and durable, and the communication is encrypted. Wiretapping, along with a few other features, is standard for all personnel in the Special Operations Branch. It would take an hour to change the mobile phone, so Lao Zhou asked Xiaopinghan to pick it up after an hour. There is a shooting range and a cold weapon training ground on this floor. You can come here to practice guns or practice the use of steel whips in the future. The main combatants in the Special Operations Department are summoners or awakened ones. As summoners and awakened ones, the self-defense weapons carried daily are non-automatic weapons or cold weapons. Heavy weapons and automatic weapons can also be obtained when the mission requires them, but in fact they are not used too much. Targets that can be solved with automatic weapons and heavy weapons are generally commandos from the Security Response Force. Mo Yanshao explained to Xiaopinghan while leading Xiaopinghan towards the elevator. Lao Zhou is also an awakened person. Yes. What is his awakened ability? His awakened ability is actually not special. It is the kind of ability that can give you the answer to the multiplication of 2 7-digit numbers in 1 second. This ability is a talent in mathematical calculations, but old Zhou Tiansheng is also an avid weapons enthusiast. He combines his awakening ability with his hobbies, forming a unique ability or intuition. The things he chooses for you must be the most suitable for you. Lao Zhou doesn't have any family, he's not young anymore. Young Master Mo Yan was silent for a moment. Old Zhou's family members have all been killed in the space invasion, so he has always insisted on serving in the Committee of Order. In his words, this is what he will do for the rest of his life, and he will never go anywhere. Who kill those monsters? Who will he make equipment for? Xiaopinghan was also slightly sad and whispered, I understand. Well, your custom-made clothing takes 3 days to make, and you can come and collect it after 3 days. The ordinary bullets used for training here can be collected and used without restrictions. To receive the special silver bullets, you need to ask me to sign. You should know why there are silver bullets. I have heard that ordinary steel, lead, and copper bullets will not do much harm to the bodies of those space-invading creatures. The wounds of those space-invading creatures will heal quickly. Only silver bullets are harmful to those space-invading creatures. Invading creatures cause the greatest damage, and the wounds of those space-invading creatures are difficult to heal after being hit. Xiaopinghan said. Silver bullets are also called demon hunting bullets. This is the experience accumulated by mankind in fighting against space-invading creatures for countless years. Silver is one of the trace elements in human tissue. An appropriate amount of silver ions is beneficial to the human body and can disinfect and sterilize. However, when silver ions enter the bodies of space-invading organisms, they can destroy the physiological functions of those space-invading organisms. The legend that silver can ward off evil spirits is not groundless. The 2 of them walked into the elevator, and Mo Yanshao pressed another floor, which was the 9th floor. Silver bullets can be collected during missions. Of course, we can prepare some at ordinary times. In addition to silver bullets, there are more advanced divine bullets. However, we do not have divine bullets at the equipment department. We only have some divine bullets. When summoner can make his own divine bullets, which you will come into contact with in the future. Okay, I understand, where to go now? I'll take you to see your room. Everyone in the Special Operations Division has a private room in this building. They can be used for work and rest and accommodation when on call. Is that the dormitory? Absolutely. You can also understand it this way. There are lazy people in the Special Operations Department who have a family. When they don't have tasks and don't go out to wander, they live here all year round. The summoner cannot be disturbed by the outside world when fusing the world bead. Here, the world is being fused. Pearl is also the safest. The elevator soon dinged and stopped on the 9th floor. Young Master Mo Yan took Xiaopingan and walked towards the passage in front. On both sides of the passage, there were rooms. The house numbers of the rooms were very interesting. They all started with the character 9. Xiaopingan took a look and knew that this must be another superstition among summoners. The two came to the door with room number 963. Outside the room was a smart lock, which was unlocked with palm print and pupil recognition. After opening the door and entering the room, Xiaopingan realized that the room was not too small for one person. There are 3 rooms inside. One room is like an office, with a desk, a computer, and a bookcase. Connected to this office is a bedroom with a wardrobe, bathroom, and other facilities. They are all equipped like a high-end hotel suite. Connected to the bedroom is a secret practice room. There is also a weapons cabinet in the office, which is specially used to store various weapons. After walking around the room, Xiaopingan put the weapons he received in the weapons cabinet. Then Mo Yanshao continued to take Xiaopingan outside to familiarize himself with the environment. The general feeling is that there are not many people in this building and it seems empty, but everyone is doing their own thing. If you don't push away those rooms, you can hardly see anyone wandering in the corridor. According to Mo Yanshao, the Order Committee's signboard is very scary. When performing some special tasks, in order to avoid causing public panic and excessive media speculation, the Special Operations Department often wears some vests when working. These vests include but are not limited to security personnel of security companies in society, private detectives, media reporters, investigators of commercial investigation companies, forensic lawyers in law firms, environmental supervisors in government agencies, plainclothes police and disaster prevention centers, disaster assessor and so on. That sounds interesting. After this wandering, the whole morning passed, and at lunchtime, in the cafeteria of the Order Committee, Xiaopingan finally met other people from the Special Operations Division. The steel-toothed bald man named Lao Tu was also there. Lao Tu's full name was Tu Polu. He had just come down from the gym during the meal. He was covered in steaming sweat. During lunch, Lao Tu had eaten half of a roasted suckling pig. The short-haired beauty with a hot body but cool temperament was called Fang Lingshan. When she heard young Master Mo Yan introduce Xiaopingan, Fang Lingshan just glanced at Xiaopingan, nodded slightly, and said yes. There was also a greasy middle-aged man who came to the restaurant wearing a floral shirt and slippers. He was also from the Special Operations Department. This middle-aged man was named Man Zi. Man Zi was from the Intelligence and Information Center of the Order Committee of Xianghe City. The person in charge is a professional stock market speculator. According to Mo Yanshao, this handsome man Man Zi is also the richest person in the Special Operations Department of the Xianghe City Order Committee. It is difficult to guess how much his net worth is. In addition to these people, Xiaopingan also met 2 people from the Special Operations Division, a man and a woman. The man's name was Cao Xinghua, a muscular man in his mid-20s with a resolute face and short hair. Cao Xinghua is also a summoner. He doesn't talk much. He is in various training rooms when he has nothing to do. He immediately disappears into the restaurant after 3 minutes of eating and has no interest in chatting at all. The other woman, named An Qing, is the kind of absolute beauty that makes people's eyes light up when they see her. And Qing has long black shawl hair, fair skin, beautiful eyes, and two cute dimples on her cheeks when she smiles. She also speaks softly and calmly, and listens attentively when others speak. She is the dream of countless boys. Goddess template. If Fang Lingshan is the 10,000-year-old iceberg in the Arctic, then An Qing is April in the world. Looking at An Qing's appearance, it was hard to imagine that such a woman was also a summoner. From what Mo Yanshao said, there is a man in the Special Operations Department who has not come down to eat and is sleeping. There are also several other summoners from the Special Operations Division who are on vacation or performing other tasks. The tasks of the summoners of the Xianghe City Order Committee are by no means limited to Xianghe City. If special and unexpected situations occur in other places, the orders of various places will the committee may allocate manpower to support. There are only 6 summoners on duty in this building at the moment. Qing, do you have time tonight? Come to my place and listen to Hi-Fi. I just bought a set of speakers for more than 4 million yuan. The effect is great. My home is big and comfortable. At the dinner table, Wu Dihua sucked his saliva and his eyes widened. He stared at Ni Anking brightly and invited Ni Anking to his home to listen to Hi-Fi. Damn it, this slutty guy is openly sexually harassing a summoner at the dinner table? Xiaopingan watched with interest. And Qing smiled slightly, took a sip of freshly squeezed juice, and remained polite. Uncle, you are too old. We should maintain a certain generation gap. By the way, I saw there is wolfberry and white fungus soup over there. Uncle, do you want it? Have some. The smile on the face of the handsome man Zi suddenly froze. Xiaopingan seemed to hear the sound of a knife being stabbed in the heart of the handsome man. At this moment, Mo Yanshao's cell phone rang. Mo Yanshao took out his phone and his face moved slightly. Stop bickering. A fire broke out suddenly in Tianqin Shopping Center in downtown Xianghe. The fire station has been dispatched. There are apartment buildings above the shopping mall. Some people are trapped in the shopping mall and apartment buildings. Because the fire on site developed too fast, the fire station it is difficult to determine the location and number of people trapped in shopping malls and apartment buildings, which will affect the speed of rescue. At the same time, the cause of the fire has not yet been determined. The fire department has asked the order committee for help. Young Master Mo Yan put down his cell phone, glanced at the people present, and his eyes fell on Xiaopingan. Let this be your first mission, and Qing, you and Xiaopingan go there. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 14. The red Ferrari 599 was like a wild horse, rushing out of the door that automatically slid open by the order committee. The strong pushing force pressed Xiaopingan's entire body tightly onto the back of the passenger seat. The road that stretched several hundred meters from the order committee gate to the highway reached the end in just a few seconds. The red sports car made a beautiful 90-degree flick at the end of the road, making a harsh friction sound on the highway, and then went straight on. The highway started to speed up. Damn it! Xiaopingan didn't expect An Qing, a sunny beauty, to drive so wildly. What was even more exciting was that the car was not slowing down. An Qing reached out and took out a police light from beside her seat. She opened the car window, stretched out her hand and put the police light on the roof of the car. When the police light started to roar, An Qing was already after closing the car window. The whistling sound outside the car suddenly became much quieter. This is a woman who can drive a Ferrari with one hand. It happened that the car was driving so fast, but the woman's face was calm, as if she was sitting in a sightseeing car. In fact, more than 90% of the requests for assistance received by the order committee from various government departments and agencies have nothing to do with space invasion and supernatural factors, but we have to send people to confirm. And Qing was chatting with Xiaopingan while driving, just like the eldest sister next door patiently helping her juniors with their homework. In the past, the director would do this in person. The Special Operations Department of the Order Committee of Xianghe City has remote viewing equipment. He is the only person with this ability. Now that you are here, if you encounter someone who needs to use his remote viewing ability, he will pass the blame to you. Among all the abilities of the awakened person, the remote viewing ability is the most versatile, so I'm so anxious to recruit you, I just want to be lazy. Sister, you should concentrate on driving. I don't want to see news about my traffic accident in the newspaper tomorrow. Xiaopinggan glanced at the speedometer on the car. It was already 180 kilometers per hour. And Qing smiled softly, stepped on the accelerator a little more, and left behind a group of racing athletes who were practicing riding bicycles on the road. Those athletes were stunned and could only eat exhaust gas from behind. Do you have the guts to laugh like that? Lao Tu said you're not very courageous, even if you chase the devil rat and dig into the hole. I just want to live a few more years. Xiaopingyan looked at the front of the road, and some pictures had emerged in his mind. On the road turning right ahead, an old man riding an electric bicycle was picking up his dropped bicycle on the roadside. You hit a box of apples within seconds of turning a corner, so it's best to go slow. If you want to be a navigator, you are definitely qualified, and Qing smiled softly and said, but the speed of the car suddenly slowed down. After a few seconds, the Ferrari turned and crossed a forest on the roadside, and saw an old man. I was squatting on the road picking up apples when a Ferrari passed by slowly without any surprise. A few minutes later, Xiaopingyan could already see with his naked eyes a plume of black smoke rising into the sky in Xianghe City. One look at the black smoke and he knew that the fire was not serious. And Qing drove very fast, and after a few minutes, the red Ferrari followed several fire trucks and drove to the street near the Tianqin shopping center where the fire broke out. Warning cordons have been set up on the street, and a large number of people rushed out from the door below the shopping mall. There were more than 10 fire trucks parked on the street, and teams of firefighters were pulling water pipes and running up and down the street. Go. Because this is a downtown area with a lot of people and vehicles, there are traffic police here to evacuate and direct traffic. And Qing parked the car on the side of the road, took a work badge hanging around her neck in the car and handed it to Xiaopingyan. Put it on. She also wore a badge herself. The two got out of the car and walked directly towards the shopping mall. The policeman holding the cordon saw the two people approaching, glanced at the signs hanging on them, and took another look at Qing. Without asking any questions, he let the two people enter the cordon. There was thick smoke billowing in the shopping mall, and the fire was coming out from the window of the shopping mall. It was very big, and there was also thick smoke and fire coming out of the apartment above the shopping mall. The situation on the scene was not optimistic. Fire trucks had set up ladders and were using high-pressure water cannons to suppress the fire. Firefighters rushed against the current into the smoke-filled shopping mall and rescued some elderly people and children who had not yet evacuated. Some in the apartments waved towels and arms at their windows to attract the attention of those below. 2 vehicles with high-altitude rescue ladders were parked downstairs. The long rescue ladders continued to rise and began to rescue those trapped in the apartment. Life-saving air mattresses had been laid downstairs. Among the several fire trucks at the scene, several men wearing fire department officer uniforms were talking loudly with several people in suits, holding a set of drawings and having a heated discussion. As soon as most of the people in the mall were evacuated, our team members have rushed in and are searching for the people trapped in the mall and apartments. The smoke is too thick inside, and the team members who rushed in are still groping. The fire has already spread. There are more than 300 rooms upstairs in the apartment. It is too late to search each room. The property manager of the building said that someone is still trapped in the basement, but the specific location is not clear. As for the drone, let the drone pull up the high-altitude water spray pipe first. Seeing Xiaopingyan and Qing approaching, a middle-aged man wearing a fire department chief's uniform relaxed and walked over quickly. Great, you are finally here, "Missin, isn't Director Mo here?" The man also looked behind the two of them. "Director Fei, this is our new colleague. Director Mo sent me and him to assist you." After hearing An Qing's introduction, the chief of the fire station looked at Xiaoping'an seriously, with a confused look on his face. Can he see what's going on inside? Xiaoping'an looked at the building in front of him filled with smoke and fire, and said directly, "There are several people trapped in the fifth passage leading to the shelter in Area B on the second floor of the basement of the shopping mall. At this time, there is no need to explain anything, just let the other party see your ability." When Xiaoping'an spoke, Director Fei's expression changed. He immediately took the intercom and began to direct and arrange the rescue. Xiaoping'an's remote viewing ability unfolded, and images of people in the shopping mall with thick smoke and fire continued to appear in Xiaoping'an's consciousness. 2 women and 2 children were trapped in the women's restroom in the east area on the second floor of the mall. There are 7 restaurant employees in the freezer room in the back kitchen of Xile restaurant on the 4th floor of the mall. One of your firefighters fell and was injured in the stairwell on the 5th floor of the shopping mall. He is unable to move. There is too much smoke there. Please send someone to rescue immediately. There is a child in room 6011 of the apartment building under the sofa in the living room. There is an old man in a wheelchair in a coma in the living room of room 7031 of the apartment building. In room 7066 of the apartment building, there is a mother hiding in the bathroom with her child. There are 3 children in room 8009 of the apartment building. A firefighter is trapped by fire in the B3 area on the east side of the second floor of the mall. Please rescue immediately. As Xiaoping'an accurately reported each piece of information, the on-site rescue operations began to be more targeted and efficient. A summoner with remote viewing capabilities can increase the fire brigade's rescue efficiency by more than 10 times at this time. And while Xiaoping'an was constantly reporting the situation in the shopping mall and apartment with his remote viewing ability, An Qing's expression became more and more serious with her eyes closed. The summoner's ability to sense summoning spells and other supernatural forces is very strong, but in the shopping malls and apartment buildings that were burning with thick smoke and fire, An Qing felt the breath of fire generated by supernatural factors inside. Remnants. This fire was not an accident, but a supernatural force intervening. Xiaoping'an was searching the building with remote viewing capabilities. Suddenly, a picture suddenly appeared in Xiaoping'an's consciousness. In room 9089 on the 9th floor of the apartment building, the heads, torsos, hands, and feet of 3 people were completely dismembered. 3 bloody torsos, 6 legs and 6 arms were arranged in the room to form the pattern of an eye. The eyeball in the middle of the pattern was the head of 3 people with their mouths open and in great pain. The floor of the room was full of blood, and the pattern made of 3 stumps was weird and horrifying. The blood on the floor was flowing in the eyes of the stumps. It flowed out from the eye pattern, like a blood-red eye. The terrifying eyes flowing with blood and tears. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 15. An hour later, the fire in Xianghe Tianqin shopping center and the apartment above was completely controlled. The cordon outside the building is still there, but the fire trucks have left. Those who can be saved have been saved, and those who cannot be saved will never be saved. The property lost in this fire has not yet been calculated, but the number of people killed in the fire has been calculated. A total of 11 people. These 11 people do not include the 3 bodies in room 9089 on the 9th floor of the apartment building. The corridors of the apartment building were smoky, and there were traces of the raging fire everywhere. The ground was full of black water, and it was a mess. The fire burned through the ceiling, exposing black holes. The steel frames on the ceiling were twisted and scattered, making aisles in narrow apartment buildings even narrower. At the entrance to the corridor on the 9th floor of the apartment building, a cordon of the National Order Committee was set up. Except for people from the Order Committee, no one from the police and fire department could enter. Mo Yanshao stepped on the water on the ground with his leather boots, stepped over the burnt black things on the ground, and walked in the corridor of the apartment building. Next to and behind Mo Yanshao were two Polu, Fang Lingshan, Cao Xinghua, and a handsome man with long hair, wearing a black suit, and a slightly tired face. The handsome man walked at the end, looking lazy, but his nose was twitching and his eyes were darting around. And Qing is right. There is indeed the aura of the fireball spell summoned here. The fire here is not an accident. The handsome man with long hair said as he walked. Almost all the personnel stationed at the Special Operations Office of the National Order Committee in Xianghe City have arrived. Young Master Mo Yan frowned tightly and remained silent. He had already seen the situation in room 9089 before, and his expression was a little solemn. Damn it, are those bastards showing up again? Tupolu, who was carrying a machete on his back, licked his lips, his eyes gleaming like a tiger that had smelled something. Fang Lingshan was still cold, and the muscular man Cao Xinghua was still silent without saying a word. These two people were a perfect match. A few people walked and arrived at the door of apartment number 9089 in the blink of an eye. The door of the room, which was darkened by smoke, was open, but the house number could still be seen clearly. Xiaopingan and Anqing were both inside, and the bloody pattern of 3 corpses on the ground was untouched. Standing in front of the pattern of 3 corpses, you can even feel the terrifying aura brought by the bloody devil's eye. Compared with this place, the slaughterhouse and morgue are like a children's paradise. Xiaopingan took a look at the handsome man with long hair who walked in with Mo Yan and a few others. That man should be the guy who was sleeping in the headquarters just now and did not go downstairs to eat. He seemed to be named Li Yunzhou. Boy, why don't you go out and wait first? The environment here is not friendly to newcomers. Be careful of nightmares at night and not being able to eat for a few days. Tupolu, who walked into the room, sighed when he saw Xiaopingan was here. Said something loudly. It's okay, I want to get used to it. Xiaopingan said calmly. Xiaopingan can stay. Mo Yanshao said, and then glanced at Anqing. Have you figured out the identities of these 3 people? I figured it out. The family living in room 9089 was killed last night. Anqing sighed, this room number was specially selected as a provocation to us. It's just a residual in the building. The aura of divine power can no longer be traced. Anqing looked at the bodies of the victims in the room, with only a hint of sadness in her eyes, but no fear. Because summoners like to be superstitious about the number 9, the number of this room is 9089. Mo Yanshao squatted in front of the strange devil's eye pattern, put on a transparent medical glove, and used his fingers to open the lower eyelids of the 2 eyes of a male head in the middle of the eye pattern. He sighed and stood up. It was those people who did it. Before they were dismembered, these 3 deceased people were all given a spell to sharpen their senses. This allowed them to absorb their pain, fear, and all the negative emotions in their bodies and minds when they were dismembered. Emotions and negative perceptions are completely squeezed out to complete this devil's eye ritual. These bastards, if I want to find them, I will pluck their skins off one by one. Tupola gritted his teeth. Still not sure how many people there are, Li Yunzhou said, Head, it's best to ask the headquarters to support a few people. The devil's eye can do anything. A few hours have passed, and it is impossible to determine whether the perpetrators are still in Xianghe City. At this time, they may have even left Yan country. First, report to the headquarters and ask the headquarters to provide intelligence assistance to see what happened recently. No special personnel have entered Xianghe City, because this may be a trap deliberately trying to attract our attention. The anti-space intrusion warning level in Xianghe City will be raised to 1 level again. Everyone will start lighting lanterns tonight, working in pairs. After Mo Yanshao finished speaking, he turned around and walked towards the door. After confirming the situation here, everyone followed Mo Yanshao and left the apartment. Xiaoping'an walked at the end. He was full of questions, but it was not convenient to speak at this time. After everyone left here, another team from the order committee that specialized in handling corpses entered apartment number 9089 and disposed of the corpses in the room. These corpses contaminated by the committee of order are all high-risk items. Under the influence of some supernatural forces, dead people can kill people. Therefore, these corpses have special processing procedures that cannot be handled by the forensic doctors and coroners of the police station. Moreover, in order to avoid causing public panic, it is not appropriate for agencies outside the order committee to intervene. You performed well today. If nothing happens in the past 2 days, you will temporarily stay at the headquarters and prepare to fuse the world beads. Don't go home for the time being, Mo Yanshao said to Xiaoping'an when he walked outside the door. Xiaoping'an nodded. Xianing lives on campus. There is really no need for him to go home these days. Moreover, the living conditions at the headquarters are better. The food in the cafeteria is very delicious and free. It is much better than cooking noodles at home. And Qing and Xiaoping'an will go back to the headquarters with us directly. Now go back and prepare. Let's light the lights tonight, Mo Yanshao said to Qing. And Qing didn't say anything more, just nodded. As for the Ferrari that Qing drove here, it seemed so insignificant that no one cared about it at all. Xiaoping'an could clearly feel that the devil's eye in the room made everyone in the Special Operations Department tense up. As for lighting up, that was the professional term of the Special Operations Department, and they had to work at night. Everyone went up to the rooftop, where a gray-blue civilian version of the Falcon helicopter was parked. Just now, young Master Mo Yan and the others came directly in the helicopter. Everyone got on the helicopter. Fang Lingshan sat in the pilot's seat and started the helicopter. The helicopter took off and took everyone back to the headquarters. In just a short time, the helicopter flew to the tarmac on the roof of the black building of the National Order Committee in Xianghe City, and everyone got off the plane. It was only then that Xiaoping'an spoke. Director Mo, what does the devil's eye mean? Is there any information I should know? Li Yunzhou, this is Xiaoping'an, a newcomer in our Special Operations Division. His training tasks for new recruits in the Special Operations Division these days will be left to you. Please explain his problem to him, Mo Yanshao said directly to him. Li Yunzhou said. Ah, bringing someone new again. Li Yunzhou's face suddenly turned into a bitter melon. Boss, I'm seriously sleep deprived. I've recently suffered from hypoglycemia, neurasthenia, endocrine disorders, irregular heartbeat, intermittent hysteria, and bad temper. No, besides, I just got up and haven't brushed my teeth yet. Can I leave this job to someone else? Okay, you can give it to someone else. You have so many physical problems and your attendance efficiency is too low. Don't ask for this month's bonus. Give it to someone else. Mo Yanshao ignored Li Yunzhou and faced Li Yunzhou with the back of his head. Walked directly towards the elevator. No one else paid attention to him. Head, don't, I'll take it, I'll take it, I'll take it, can't you? Li Yunzhou shouted at the top of his lungs, and ran after Mo Yanshao for a few steps. The smile on his face suddenly turned into a flattering one. By the way, can you give me a little more bonus this month? Okay, if you want a bigger bonus than others, then you can light the lanterns tonight as a team. Those who can do more work. Ha ha ha, I'm just joking, I'm just kidding, don't take it seriously, Tou, you and I will be the only ones tonight. Li Yunzhou laughed along with him, while Fang Lingshan glanced at him with contempt and snorted coldly. Xiaoping'an looked at Li Yunzhou speechlessly. Just now, he hadn't noticed anything special about this Li Yunzhou, because this guy didn't say a few words just now. Now it seems that this Li Yunzhou is just a joke. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 16. When young Master Mo Yan and others left in the elevator, Li Yunzhou turned his head and took a serious look at Xiaopingyan. He suddenly straightened his face, coughed twice, and took out his dignity. Boy, what's that look in your eyes? Let me tell you, don't think that you have the ability to do remote viewing. In the Committee of Order, awakeners are about the same as sweepers. Do you understand? There is still 100,000 difference between awakeners and summoners. 8,000 miles away, the chance that you will become a summoner in the next 2 years is less than 1 in 50. Even if you are lucky enough to become a summoner by accident, you still have to call me senior, do you understand? Understood, senior, Xiaopingyan smiled. By the way, senior, I haven't said the question I just asked yet. What does the devil's eye mean? Hearing Xiaopingyan obediently call him senior, Li Yunzhou's chest puffed up a little, and his vanity was greatly satisfied. He waved his hand. This is not the place to talk. Let's go to the small conference room of the information center. As a senior, I'll give you a good talk, so that a newbie like you can see how dangerous this world is. A few minutes later, in the small conference room of the information center, Li Yunzhou stood in front of the huge display screen in the conference room, pointing at the weird and terrifying devil eyes photos piled up with human flesh on the screen. Started to tell Xiaopingyan. This is the devil's eye. The devil's eye we see today is small and only sacrificed 3 people. The photo in the middle of the screen was taken by the Order Committee on the outskirts of a city in Rwanda, Africa in 1993. This devil's eye has been sacrificed by more than 6,800 people. The photo of the devil's eye that Li Yunzhou was referring to was taken from the air. The dismembered human corpses were piled up into mountains in an open space covering an area of dozens of acres. The corpses formed eyes, and the piled heads formed eyeballs. It was bloody and terrifying. To the extreme. Moreover, the piled-up corpses were already rotting and infested with maggots. Such a scene was difficult to describe in words. Xiaopingyan, who saw that kind of photo for the first time, was also upset inside. He just squinted his eyes and looked at it, frowning slightly, and pursed his lips tightly. In addition to the photo from Rwanda, there are also various photos of devil eyes on the screen. The devil eyes in all the photos are constructed from dismembered human corpses. Those pictures are a test of human endurance. Challenges. Other demon eyes, the number of sacrifices ranges from a few to dozens or hundreds. The heads, hands, feet, and torsos of all the sacrificed people will be dismembered into 6 parts, because this demon's eye, the eyes are too evil and terrifying, and will cause huge panic among ordinary people. Such photos will not be published by the media in various countries. They are strictly forbidden for ordinary people to know. Of course, you are now qualified to know a little bit. Is the class of space invasion that occurred in Rwanda, Africa, in 1994 related to the evil eye in the photo? Wang Weian asked. Boy, you are very smart, Li Yunzhou nodded. The devil's eye is an evil sacrificial ritual. This sacrificial ritual can completely squeeze out human beings' negative energy and negative emotions. For space invasion, the devil's eye is like a beacon guiding the space-invading creatures on the vast sea, making it easier for those alien creatures to open the space passage to this world. The bigger the sacrifice ceremony, the more people will die, and the subsequent space invasion will the higher the level. The class of space invasion in Rwanda in 1994 caused more than 1 million deaths. Who made the sacrifice, and who arranged the devil's eyes? The person who created the devil's eye is an anti-human cult called Devil's Eye. The disaster in Rwanda is just one of the blood debts of this cult. The history of this cult's existence is too ancient to be traced back. The purpose of the existence of this cult organization is to allow the alien world to completely descend on our world through space invasion and complete the engulfment and destruction of our world. They call this engulfment and destruction the holy arrival. Among the 178 cults and mysterious organization groups around the world confirmed by the Order Committee, the Devil's Eye ranks first in the degree of danger. It is the common enemy of all governments. Anyone with the Devil's Eye can directly attack them wherever they see it. Kill. Who are the people who have joined the Eye of Demon, those fallen summoners and awakened ones? That's just a small part of the Devil's Eye. The expression on Li Yunzhou's face became solemn, and he was silent for a moment. Actually, among the group of summoners, there has always been a guess that the person who first created the Devil's Eye was. It is possible that they are non-human beings who came to our world through space invasion, but those non-human beings can live among us with the appearance of humans. After the Eden Project in Europe in 1945 of the last century, the composition of the Devil's Eye became more complicated. Ordinary people, summoners, and awakened persons who were actively or passively possessed by demons or even devoured fusion parasites would join the Devil's Eye. Eyes, for those who are fused with demon spirits and are devoured and parasitized by demon spirits, we no longer know that they are not human beings. Their body genes have completely changed, they will have some special abilities, and they will even become terrifying. The monster. Is the Devil's Eye the enemy that the Special Operations Department has to face in addition to space invasion? They are one of the most dangerous enemies. All creatures with supernatural abilities that threaten the national security and social order of the Yan Kingdom, no matter what they are our enemies. Facts have proved that Li Yunzhou's patience and seriousness towards Xiaopinggan only lasted for less than 10 minutes. In the small conference room, more than 10 minutes later, Li Yunzhou, who had answered a few of Xiaopinggan's questions, came over and sat down on the table in front of Xiaopinggan. He raised his eyebrows at Xiaopinggan, and the topic suddenly flew away. I heard that you drove to Tianqin shopping center with Enqing today. This guy was just talking about cult organizations and mysterious groups that were listed as dangerous organizations by the Order Committee, but he changed the topic in the blink of an eye. Xiaopinggan was not used to this speed. Yes, senior, do you have any questions? Xiaopinggan could only answer. Did Enqing tell you about me in the car? Li Yunzhou licked his lips, his voice inexplicably a little lewd. No, Xiaopinggan shook his head expressionlessly. Li Yunzhou suddenly laughed. Hey, I knew she was still shy and didn't mention me. This shows that she has been secretly keeping me in her heart. Xiaopinggan looked at him speechlessly. Xiaopinggan's eyes made Li Yunzhou snort dissatisfied. Boy, what do you know? Didn't the boss take you to meet everyone and have lunch together at noon today? I didn't come down for lunch, so there was one person missing. It stands to reason that if you and Enqing were on your way to Tianqin shopping center and there was one missing colleague, would Enqing mention me? If she didn't mention it, it means that my position in her heart is not good. Usually, she has me in her heart. This is a logic genius. Looking at Li Yunzhou, who looked satisfied and intoxicated, Xiaopinggan couldn't help but say, Senior, are you thinking too much? Li Yunzhou glanced at Xiaopinggan condescendingly, shook his long hair coolly, looked at the sky outside the classroom wall with a melancholy expression. Ordinary people like you will not know that someone like me is like this. How many troubles and love debts will a handsome person encounter in his life? If being handsome was a sin, people like me would have been cut to pieces long ago. As the #1 handsome guy in the National Order Committee of Xianghe City, I was surrounded by it's actually normal for a female colleague to have a crush on her. Yeah. Of course, besides Enqing, Fang Lingshan also has a crush on me, and has had a crush on me for many years. Did you see that before she got off the plane and entered the elevator just now, she snorted at me and glanced at me. Xiaopinggan looked serious. Senior, I feel like that look is contempt. Contempt? Hee, it shows that you are still young. Shanshan just wants to attract my attention. Women have many minds. Haven't you noticed that Fang Lingshan and Enqing don't talk much? They blame me for this. Li Yunzhou's expression turned into self-blame. if it weren't for me, there would be no conflict between them. It's just that one of them is as cold as ice, and the other is as bright as sunshine. I am a soft-hearted person and always don't want them to fall in love with each other. The other one is sad, so it's hard to make a choice. Forget it, you don't understand even if I tell you this. By the way, you just know these secrets and don't spread them out, so as not to make Lao Tu and the others jealous and let An Qing and Shan Shan meet. Embarrassing, as a man, I can just bear these love debts silently. After saying this, seeing that Xiaoping'an was completely speechless, Li Yunzhou yawned and suddenly lost his spirits. I have to go out on a mission tonight, so I'm going to catch up on some sleep. I've found some documents for you from the Order Committee. You just study slowly on the computer. If there is anything you don't understand, well, you will understand it slowly in the future. After saying this irresponsibly, Li Yunzhou shook his head, muttering something like lighting the lights again and consuming his divine power again, and left directly, leaving Xiaoping'an alone in the room. Inside, Xiaoping'an smiled indifferently, and then looked at the information on the computer in the room. More than 10 minutes later, Xiaoping'an clicked on an old black and white photo from more than 100 years ago in a document on the computer about the history of the National Order Committee. The title of that old photo is in 1856, Jinshan City, Great Yan State, Jinyi Town Demon Guard Lamplighter killed the vampire Bat Demon. In the photo, a man wearing armor stood in front of the camera with a majestic appearance. The man had 2 double-barreled fire guns on his waist. He held an ancient lamp in one hand and a long lamp in the other. Knife. Behind the man, there is a huge bat demon with its wings spread out by a rope, with a wingspan of more than 8 meters. The bat demon's wings are spread out like a bat, but its body is like a human, with a human face, fangs exposed on its mouth, and all its body. It's blood, and there's a big hole in the heart that's about the size of a bowl, and you can see the big hole in the back. Mo Yan Shao slaughtered a few Polu people and went to light the lanterns tonight. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 17. Night falls, and darkness once again envelops the entire Xianghe city. After the sunlight disappears, the world becomes dark. Darkness brings both silence and terror. There are countless legends and stories about the darkness. When most people in the city fell asleep quietly after a hard day's work, in several corners of the city that no one noticed, several special lights were quietly lit. 2 Polus stood on the roof of a building like a steel tower, overlooking the entire Xianghe city. His bald head was particularly dazzling under the lightning rod on the roof of the building. The big knife like a guillotine was stuck on the roof of the building. 2 Polu was like a tiger waiting for hunting, his eyes flashed, ready to attack at any time. Next to 2 Polu, Fang Lingshan, who was wearing a black windbreaker, had a special beauty in the night, which complemented the dark night. A delicate ancient bronze lamp was held on Fang Lingshan's fair and slender fingers. The ancient bronze lamp has densely packed divine writings on it. There is no oil or wick in the ancient lamp, but in the position of the wick, there is a bit of golden flame burning firmly and warmly. The wind was very strong upstairs in the building. The wind howled, making Fang Lingshan's windbreaker rustle. Her short hair was flying freely in the strong wind, but the light in the ancient bronze lamp did not sway at all and was completely ignored. The surrounding wind. This lamp is the heart lamp of the summoner. The golden light that burns is poured into the lamp with the summoner's divine power before it burns. It is not afraid of wind and rain and can be lit in any environment. This is the origin of the lamp lighter that has been passed down for tens of thousands of years. If people light lamps and the lamps are not extinguished, the family and the country will be safe. But at this time, they were no longer called lamplighters, but a group of special public officials from the Special Operations Division of the National Order Committee in Xianghe City. I think it's better than before. The lamplighter can take care of everything. With a sword in his hand, he can kill the faint king and demons. With a lamp in his hand, he can protect the peace of the world. Tupolev smacked his lips and said leisurely and fascinated. One sentence, I think it's suitable for me to travel back in time to ancient times. It would be more enjoyable to be a lamplighter at that time than it is now. Anyway, I'll just kill anyone I don't like. Fang Lingshan ignored him and closed her eyes, as if she was falling asleep. A lamp was also burning under the pier of a bridge a few miles away. The bridge spans a large river with waves and ships constantly coming and going. Cao Xinghua and Li Yunzhou are under the piers of this bridge. In the end, Li Yunzhou was not assigned to be with Mo Yanshao as he wanted, but was assigned to be with Tai Piao Cao Xinghua. Cao Xinghua sat cross-legged with his eyes closed. A long sword was placed across his knees. An ancient bronze lamp was placed in front of him. The lamp was lit like gold, and Cao Xinghua seemed to be in meditation. Li Yunzhou looked up at the huge steel beam of the bridge across his head, reached out and swatted a few mosquitoes, and then complained like an angry little daughter-in-law. I said, Lao Cao, what are you doing? Choose this damn place. There are so many mosquitoes here. We both feed the mosquitoes here. Do you have some ulterior relationship with the mosquitoes here? You took the opportunity to give them food and drink. It's a shame that I can still feed them tonight. When you dress so stylishly, no one will appreciate you. Cao Xinghua opened his eyes, glanced at Li Yunzhou, then stretched out his hand and threw something to Li Yunzhou. Li Yunzhou took it and saw that it was a small box of anti-mosquito cooling oil. After struggling for a few seconds, Li Yunzhou chose the cooling oil between mosquitoes and cooling oil. He kept mumbling while wiping it in his mouth, oh, I didn't expect that a handsome guy like me would have to apply cooling oil. I always thought this is something for the elderly. Lao Cao, remember, I sacrificed my taste to apply cooling oil. You owe me a favor. Next time you can choose the pier over there. Let's find a place to drink. Drinking wine, lighting the lamp, looking at the beautiful women, and also keeping vigil, the night passed quickly. Okay, next time you light the lamp, I will follow you wherever you like, Cao Xinghua finally said coldly. He. Li Yunzhou laughed and shrank his head, my power this month is not enough and I haven't recovered yet. Besides, I have recently suffered from hypoglycemia, neurasthenia, endocrine disorders, irregular heartbeat, and some intermittent. He's hysterical and has a bad temper, so it's up to you to order, those who can do the hard work. Cao Xinghua closed his eyes and ignored him. But Li Yuda was a talker. After only being silent for half a minute, he found a topic on his own. First he shook his long hair coolly, then his voice began to lower, and the expression on his face began to show obscenity. During dinner tonight, didn't you and Fang Lingshan sit together? Did she mention me to you? She didn't, right? I knew she deliberately acted so cold and arrogant in front of me, and deliberately sat far away from me every time she ate. I'm far away. Actually, I just want to attract my attention, but this trick is too childish. I have seen through it a long time ago. As the most handsome guy in Xianghe City Order Committee. Shut up. Li Yunzhou's mouth was closed for a while, but a minute later, he started nagging again. I know that Lao Cao, you are jealous that I am handsomer than you and more popular with female colleagues than you, but this is not my fault. Who is calling me? God gave me this face, and also made me so talented. Sometimes when I look in the mirror, I feel jealous of myself. In fact, you don't know that a handsome and talented person like me is very tired and has to bear a lot of debt. A few minutes later, Cao Xinghua roared, and a figure flew down from the bridge pier more than 20 meters high, and fell into the rolling river with a thud. The world is quiet. The light is still on. In an urban park in the west of Xianghe City, there is also a light on. Mo Yanshao and Anqing were sitting on both sides of the park bench. Mo Yanshao also had a lamp lit in his hand. This place is closest to the old city in the northwest of Xianghe City. Outside the park is the bar and red light district of Xianghe City. The area is densely crowded and noisy at night. It is a key security area in Xianghe City at night and is also the place where trouble is most likely to occur. Sitting in the park, through the secret shade of trees and an artificial lake in the park, you can see on the street outside the park from time to time, police cars flashing red and blue lights flash by, but the police cars and lights, it's okay to deal with ordinary gangsters and gang members, but in the face of certain things, the police are as helpless as lambs. 3 lit lamps, 3 points, and 3 directions drew a huge triangle in Xianghe City, silently guarding the entire Xianghe City in this quiet night. A park security guard patrolled here with a flashlight. He saw the 2 people sitting on the bench here and was about to speak. And Qing turned her head and glanced at the security guard. The look on the security guard's face suddenly turned blank. Then he walked across the path in front of the 2 of them, as if he didn't see them at all. You and Xiaopingan went on a mission. What do you think of Xiaopingan? Mo Yanshao spoke. Young Master Mo Yan knew about Qing's special abilities. The last mission arrangement was not done on a whim. Qing shook her head, a strange look flashed in her bright eyes. I can't see through him. I can only feel that his heart is clean, but his heart is shrouded in layers of fog. The fog is worse than the night, deeper and more mysterious. He is a man with stories and secrets. His apparent simplicity and ordinariness are his best disguise. Qing smiled softly. A man like that is actually quite attractive. Yes, I feel it too. He was unwilling to expose his remote viewing ability for so many years just because he had a bigger secret that he didn't want to expose. Mo Yanshao shook his head slightly. Qing also nodded, looking at the deep darkness outside, and sighed softly. A young man, with a younger sister who has not yet grown up, is helpless, walking in this dark forest full of dangers. It is wiser not to light a torch and groping in the dark than to light a torch. It is convenient to light a torch. You can pick up gems and gold mines scattered on the ground in the forest, but those things and beasts walking in the dark can also saw him. If it is not lit, it will always be just an inconspicuous background in this dark forest, unable to touch gems and gold mines, like grass and leaves that no one pays attention to, like spider webs hanging in inconspicuous corners, silently collecting the dew and the trivial bits of food delivered to the door will not let anyone notice. Last time he struck a match, wasn't it discovered by you? If I were her sister, I also hope that I can have such a brother. Haha, you have a good impression of him. Don't you know, a man who is kind, warm, and can take care of his sister can easily win the favor of girls. Qing smiled slightly and stroked her hair charmingly. By the way, the provincial inspection will be held tomorrow. The members will come with the Divine Fire World Pearl, right? Well, yes, the provincial department has completed the review. The inspector will come tomorrow with the Divine Fire World bead. Our Special Operations Office may have another reserve summoner. If everything goes well, he will be able to grow up in 2 years. For the summoner director, the chance of an awakened person becoming a summoner is only twice as high as that of ordinary people. There is no rejection reaction to the world bead, but the success rate is less than 1/50th. When did you become so confident in a newcomer? Haha, just intuitive. An hour ago, it was on the roof of the building where Tupolu and Fang Lingshan were. The golden flame in the wick of the ancient lamp held by Fang Lingshan suddenly turned into a strange deep purple. The fire in the lamp suddenly shot out half a foot long, and the flame began to shake, and the flame tip kept swinging in one direction, like a magnetic needle being attracted by something. It's really coming. Tupolu let out a deep tiger-like roar from his throat, his eyes filled with murderous intent. The next second, the 2 people on the roof of the building seemed to disappear. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 18. The alley is in the middle of several residential buildings. There were originally street lights in the alley, but a few street lights have been broken recently. The municipal department has not had time to repair them. From a distance, the lights in the alley are bright and dark, especially in this late night. The dark alley leads to twists and turns, which is not very friendly to night returners who want to pass through the two surrounding communities through the alley. An orange taxi stopped at the alley. The door of the taxi opened. Two women wearing black miniskirts and high heels, smelling of alcohol and wearing heavy makeup got out of the car. Both women are no longer young, only the tail of youth can be seen. Both of their faces have that very special aura of travel and dust left behind by hanging out in nightclubs all year round. The aura of travel and dust is difficult to describe in detail. Distinguish, a woman stained with that scent is like a flower stained with oil. People who understand will understand it after just one look. The uncle who drove the taxi took the money and whistled at the two women. He stared hard at the two women's swaying fat buttocks and waists before stepping on the accelerator, somewhat reluctantly. Leave. There was still light at the entrance of the alley, and there were several piles of burned paper money on the ground at the entrance. The two women carefully avoided the burned paper money and walked towards the alley with some fear. A cold wind blew in the alley, blowing up the ashes of paper money on the ground, making the deep alley look a little eerie for no reason. The sound of the two people's high heels echoed in the alley, like frightened deer. The street lights stretched the shadows of the two people, pressing them tightly to the ground, twisting on the watery ground. "Aimee, let's find another place to live," a woman said with chattering teeth, holding the other woman's arm tightly. "Every time I come back and walk this alley at night, I'm scared." "Lily, what's there to be afraid of?" The woman named Aimee pretended to be calm. "Isn't it just the last time I met a little gangster? That little gangster only dared to rub some oil and talk a few words, but we don't. There will be less meat. Besides, the rent here is cheap and it's close to us coming back from get off work. It's hard to find such a cheap and convenient house." The girl named Lily looked worriedly into the depths of the dark alley. "Do you think that little gangster will still be in the alley tonight?" "It doesn't matter if he's here or not. He's a little hooligan who only scares people with a knife. He doesn't dare to do anything." The two women were walking in the alley, but they didn't notice that the shadow behind them was twisting abnormally, and it was very uncoordinated with their pace. It seemed that something was trying to get out of the shadow behind them. They quickened their pace and walked through a dark area of more than 20 meters long, and then came to a place with lights. On the lamppost in the alley, there was a figure wearing a blue sweatshirt, with his back to them, leaning against the lamppost. The figure wore a hood on his head, but the sweatshirt was very familiar, and the figure on the back was also very familiar. It was the little gangster who often hung out in the alley with a dagger, and it seemed that he was waiting for them. The two women looked at each other and walked over without stopping. I said, "You are not interested anymore. In the middle of the night, you really think that we sisters are easy to bully? We are protected by Brother Xiang. If you mess around again, I will call the police even if I don't tell Brother Xiang to deal with you. I think if you want to play with women, go to clubs and nightclubs. As long as you can pay for it, there are all kinds of women. What do you mean here? You want to have sex for nothing." Aimee was a bit aggressive. She scolded the little gangster when she went up and pushed the little gangster hard. Shoulders. The little hooligan fell to the ground. A head with a pale face, frightened eyes, and skin as dry as tree bark without a trace of blood rolled out of his hood and rolled a few meters on the ground. Under the clothes of the fallen headless corpse, countless rats and cockroaches emerged from the bloody holes in the man's neck and chest, scurrying around in the alley. There were colorful snakes coming out of the mouth, ears, and nostrils of the head that fell to the ground. Such a scene made the two women scream in fright. Their legs became weak, and they suddenly fell to the ground with some black water and fainted from fright. The women fell, but their shadows did not fall. Instead, they suddenly swelled up, baring their teeth and claws. The shadow twisted and turned into a vaguely translucent human shape with blood-red eyes. The bloody mouth opened from the face to the back of the head, biting towards the woman named Ame. Beast. With a roar, Tupolu fell from the sky, a faint golden light flashing on the blade of the guillotine-like knife in his hand. The sword that fell from the sky split the monster that emerged from the shadow in half from head to toe. The humanoid shadow that was split in half by Tupolu sizzled, and emitted smelly black smoke. The body was shattered directly, and then a dark red smoke emerged from the shadow and passed through it all at once. The wall next to it leads to the sewer not far away. Just when a black smoke was about to enter the sewer, Fang Lingshan's cold voice sounded, "Fire!" At the entrance of the sewer, a fireball suddenly flew over, directly hitting the black smoke, surrounding the black smoke, and burning violently. A harsh, high-frequency scream came from the smoke, and the few streetlights that were lit in the alley exploded amidst the scream, turning into countless glass shards that scattered like snowflakes. The alley also turned completely dark. Only the bright fire was still burning fiercely. In the blink of an eye, the black smoke turned into light smoke in the flames and completely dissipated, leaving nothing behind. Fang Lingshan's figure jumped down from the nearby roof at this time, tapped lightly on the wall, and landed steadily in the alley with the lightness of night. In the alley, the two women were completely frightened and fell to the ground. Apart from that, there were no other corpses in the alley. The street lamp pole not far away was clean. The gangster was not there, and there were no rats, snakes, insects, or cockroaches. The wave-color body of the phantom monster has been cleared. Fang Lingshan glanced at the alley. There are no other monsters here. Fortunately, we arrived in time, otherwise these two women would have turned into mummies. I don't know what these two women just saw after being hallucinated, and they were so scared that they looked like this. Tupolu said in a deep voice. He spoke. Tupolu looked tall and rough, but at this time, he was very attentive. When he saw the two prostitutes lying in the sewage in the alley, he shook his head, holding one in each hand, and pulled the two prostitutes out of the sewage. He dragged it out and put it against the wall under the street lamp. Fang Lingshan walked over, took out a strange-looking syringe from her body, squatted down, and quickly injected 2 injections of light green medicine into the necks of the two women. The two women's faces were filled with frightened expressions just now. After receiving 2 injections, the frightened expressions gradually disappeared. After a while, they fell asleep completely leaning against the alley. The drug Fang Lingshan injected into the two of them was a sedative with a special effect. After being injected into the human body, the drug would make people fall asleep and forget what happened before when they woke up. If such drugs are not injected, some ordinary people's nerves will become abnormal after experiencing these horrific experiences, and it is common for them to be frightened and go crazy. Tupolu took out his phone and notified the police station to come and take the person to the hospital. However, before the police arrived, Mo Yanshao and An Qing, who had received the news, had already rushed over, followed by Cao Xinghua and Li Yunzhou. Li Yunzhou was cursing and was all wet, as if he had just been fished out of the water. After listening to what happened between Tupolu and Fang Lingshan, Mo Yanshao frowned tightly and said to several people, "There has been no phantom monster spirit in Xianghe City for more than 2 years, so this phantom monster spirit must have been brought to Xianghe City by the host body recently. Judging from the time, the phantom monster spirit came with it, the host body in Xianghe City is very likely to be the member of the Devil's Eye who caused the Tianqin shopping center massacre. The member of the Devil's Eye is still in Xianghe City, has not left, and is within 10 kilometers of the surrounding area." Mo Yanshao glanced around, but there were many buildings within 10,000 meters, covering the entire core area of the city. There were countless hotel complexes. It was too difficult to target a stranger in this area. With his current remote viewing ability, he still can't do it. This phantom monster is an independent entity, so there may be more than one demon spirit parasitizing the member of the Devil's Eye. And Qing said softly. Are we fighting against that person tonight to test whether we are lighting the lamp? He is planning to fight us, Li Yunzhou rubbed his nose. As long as that person is still in Xianghe City, we will find him out. I want to see how many demon spirits he has. Young Master Mo Yan's eyes turned cold. After a while, 2 police cars came to the outside of the alley and stopped outside. Several policemen with flashlights came to the depths of the alley and found the 2 women lying asleep in the alley. They quickly called for an ambulance. The 3 lit heart lamps are still on, silently guarding the night of Xianghe City in the 3 corners of the city. In an ordinary room on the 37th floor of a hotel 5 kilometers away from the alley where the incident occurred, a fat man in his 40s, slightly bald and featureless, was sitting by the window, holding a wine glass, squinting eyes, looking in the direction of the alley where the accident occurred. The fat man was like an ordinary company salesman who came to Xianghe City on a business trip. After running around for a day, he unbuttoned a few buttons on his shirt, tore off his tie, and hung it casually around his neck. There was only one lamp burning in the room. The fat man's shadow twisted on the carpet of the room. Stop making trouble. Fatty whispered, and those twisted shadows became quiet. Then, a strange smile appeared on the fat man's face, and the fat man whispered, Lamplighters of the Order Committee, please move, everyone, move, the day of the Holy Spirit's arrival is coming soon. The next morning, Fatty checked out of the hotel, then drove an inconspicuous old pickup truck and quietly left Xianghe City. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 19. It wasn't until dawn, when the sun came out, that the people who had been lighting lamps outside all night returned to the black building of the Order Committee like returning night hawks. One by one, they began to go back to their rooms to catch up on their sleep, and slept until noon. Everyone got up again, ate in the restaurant, and met. In the past few days, Xiaopingan met everyone in the restaurant during lunch. Most of the other time, he was either practicing shooting at the shooting range or reading information and documents in the reference room. His daily time was quite fulfilling. Xiaopingan also knew what others were doing at night, but he couldn't help at all, so he could only stay at the city headquarters. Get ready. The provincial inspector will come this afternoon. After talking to you, you will be ready to fuse the Divine Fire World Bead this afternoon. As soon as Mo Yanshao spoke, the eyes of everyone around the restaurant fell on Xiaopingan on the face. Xiaopingan nodded. It doesn't matter if you fail, right? It doesn't matter. In fact, when fusing the world beads, failure is the norm. As an awakened person, the number of people who can successfully fuse 3 foundation building world beads in a row and become a summoner is less than 1 in 50, but even if you can fuse 1 or 2 there are some benefits. Mo Yanshao said. Ha ha ha, boy, work hard. Li Yunzhou patted Xiaopingan's shoulder carelessly, as if he had come from before. When you become a summoner, it will be justifiable to call me senior again. Thank you for your encouragement, senior. I will work hard. Xiaopingan smiled. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, a black car drove in from the gate of the Order Committee and stopped at the door of the black building. A driver got out of the car first and then opened the back door of the black car. An elegant old lady with silver hair got out of the car wearing a light green suit, a light green large-brimmed hat decorated with beautiful feathers, and carrying a dark blue handbag. The old lady didn't know whether she was 70 or 80 years old, but she had a good complexion, a straight back, bright eyes, and smooth skin on her face, without many wrinkles. The provincial inspector is actually such a lovely and elegant old lady? Xiaopingan was stunned for a moment, but young Master Mo Yan next to him had already strode forward with a cautious smile on his face. MRSGN, I didn't expect you to come here in person this time. Did the journey go well? It's okay. Now that I'm getting older, I just run around within the province and don't run if it's too far away. The old lady said with a smile, I heard that you started lighting lanterns with others in the past 2 days. Well, Xianghe City is not peaceful these days, so we can only work harder, Mo Yanshao said, pointing at Xiaopingan. This is Xiaopingan. Last time, he performed well in chasing down the magic rats and participating in fire rescue. I've met MRSGN, Xiaopingan took a step forward. The old lady's eyes fell on Xiaopingan, she looked at Xiaopingan from head to toe, and smiled, what a beautiful young man. After that, she said directly to Mo Yanshao, don't waste time, either. Let's get started. It's ready, MRSGN, please. The so-called room is a tea room in the building. There were only Xiaopingan and the old lady in the tea room. On behalf of the Yizhu Provincial Order Committee, the old lady came to make a final inspection of Xiaopingan and make final confirmation of Xiaopingan's qualifications for integrating the world beads. It's said to be an inspection, but it's actually just a conversation. Xiaopingan thought that such a conversation would be serious, the topic would not be so pleasant, and the person coming would be a serious and rigid middle-aged man. Unexpectedly, after entering the tea room, the old lady didn't ask any strange questions. She just chatted with Xiaopingan while drinking tea. For example, cooking, movies, flowers and plants, small animals, scenery, travel, entertainment industry gossip, and Xiaopingan's sister Xianing, how Xiaopingan makes small animals from balloons. The old lady was talkative, humorous, and peaceful, and the two of them chatted for more than half an hour without realizing it. After the pot of tea was finished, the old lady ended the conversation. Young man, okay, let's stop talking here. I'm leaving. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. We'll talk again when we have the opportunity to prepare to fuse the Divine Fire World Bead. I think you can succeed. It's over like this, it seems a bit too childish. Such an inspection seems completely unnecessary. Xiaopingan was slightly confused, but he nodded politely, thank you, I will try my best. The old lady picked up her bag, stood up, walked to the door, and wanted to open the door. Suddenly she turned back, looked into Xiaopingan's eyes, and asked, kill those people one by one, that person I begged you in the bathtub at the end, do you ever regret it? With just this sentence, the relaxed atmosphere in the entire room disappeared in an instant, and time seemed to have stopped. The old lady's bright eyes, at this moment, concealed a sharp edge that was hard to withstand. A cold sweat ran down Xiaopingan's back. Xiaopingan suddenly felt that at this moment, in front of this old lady, he was as transparent as a glass man. After just a few seconds, Xiaopingan smiled slightly and faced the old lady's eyes calmly, everything everyone does has consequences and costs. Together they can fool and trample the law, but they cannot fool and trample justice. And retribution, I am their law, and I am willing to bear any consequences. The only thing I regret is that I was not capable enough back then, and allowed those people to live for so many more days, and wasted some food in the world. In the future, I should know, MRSGN, you can have someone take me away now, I'll wait here. Let bygones be bygones. The law is the truth of the world, but there are many times in this world where there is no reason to explain. The simpler truth is about fists, and the more complicated truth is about human hearts. You just use complex. I told them some simple truths, I am just an old woman, I can't control that much, those are the things that the police are responsible for, all I can control is to choose the right lamplighter. The sharpness in the old lady's bright eyes instantly subsided and became gentle again. She smiled and said, why, young man, do you want me, an old lady, to go downstairs by myself? Xiaopingan took a deep breath and said, I'll see you off. Xiaopingan and young master Mo Yan, who were waiting at the door, sent the old lady downstairs and watched the old lady get into the car. The driver drove the old lady away from the order committee. Every time MRSGN inspects a new person, she doesn't spend more than 5 minutes. Today she actually drank tea with you for more than half an hour. Mo Yanshao touched his chin and looked at Xiaopingan with some surprise. MRSGN is also a summoner, Xiaopingan asked. No, MRSGN is an awakened person. She is the only awakened person in the entire Yazhu province who has mastered B-level mind-reading ability. Xiaopingan, who had experienced an awakening ability test, suddenly felt enlightened. Class B? No wonder he's so perverted. The Divine Fire World Bead has been placed in the 999 training room, you can go and fuse it. 2 minutes later, Xiaopingan arrived at the room with the house number 999 on the 9th floor of the building, opened the door, walked in, and closed the door. There are no windows in this room, just the top of the room, which uses a complex optical transmission system in the building to guide natural light into the room. The room was as clean as a yoga room, with a table placed in the center of the room, a purple wooden box on the table, and a meditation futon on the ground next to the table. Xiaopingan came to the table and sat down cross-legged first. He knew that the box contained a Divine Fire World Bead, but he did not open it in a hurry. Instead, he recalled in his mind what he had known before and what he had seen in the past few days. The knowledge about Jizu learned here. The abilities of all summoners in this world come from the world bead. There are all kinds of strange world beads, and different world beads bring different abilities to the summoner. These world beads come from the alien creatures that invade the space. According to legend, there are divine inscriptions on the world beads that no one can understand. Those divine inscriptions are mysterious symbols, which are the key to distinguishing different world beads. To become a summoner, one must complete the fusion of 3 world beads. These 3 world beads are the Divine Fire World Bead, the Altar World Bead and the God-Human World Bead. Only those who completely fuse these 3 world beads are the real summoners. If any one of these 3 world beads fails to fuse, it means that person has lost the qualification to become a summoner forever. But even if you don't become a summoner, as long as you can fuse 1 or 2 world beads, there will be many benefits. If the fusion is successful, you can get the opportunity to gain divine power and cut down the body. What we want to fuse today is the first world bead, the Divine Fire World Bead. A person can only fuse the same type of world beads once, and cannot fuse them twice. The fusion world bead has the mystery of the world. This mystery of the world is just like the myth of the world after being reincarnated in the legend. Once in the womb, the things of the previous life will be forgotten. The same is true for the fusion world bead. When a person fuses between the time he fuses the world pearl and the time he wakes up, he will completely forget what happened after merging the world pearl, and will be unable to remember it no matter what means he uses. Those who successfully fuse the world pearl will master the various secret techniques and summoning positions provided by the world pearl. There are 2 results for failure. One is that the person is alive, the other is that the person is directly killed by a headshot. The last one is killed by a headshot. The result of death is very terrifying. This is also the origin of the tradition of tattoos among summoners. Because the head of the corpse is gone, if a summoner dies with a headshot while fusing the world pearl, then the tattoo on his body will others identify him. Because of the existence of the mystery of the boundary, no one knows what will happen after merging the boundary beads, and there is no guidance or help. Everything can only be done by oneself. However, in the documents of the Order Clerks Association, Xiaopingan saw some records. In history, some powerful summoners remembered some of the contents of the fusion of the world beads when they were dying and returned to the light, and left some fragments of words. From those judging from just a few words, after fusing the world pearl, you will enter a mysterious world, just like experiencing a real dream, and experience some special things. A world pearl seems to be a mysterious mission. After reviewing the knowledge about the fusion world beads in his mind, Xiaopingan gradually calmed down. He took a deep breath and opened the box in front of him with curiosity that was about to burst. A bead slightly larger than a table tennis ball, emitting a mysterious glow, lay in the dark green velvet box. The boundary bead seemed to be made of glass, translucent. The clouds and mist rolled in the boundary bead, flashing with a layer of dark red brilliance, as if there was firelight faintly shining through the bead. Several pale golden divine words that only summoners can access in this world and that no one can understand are looming in the brilliance of the world pearl. When he saw the divine text inside the boundary bead, Xiaoping's eyes suddenly widened, his heart was shocked, and he couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. The history of this world is completely different from what Xiaoping once knew. The Chinese characters in this world follow another hieroglyphic system. In Xiaoping's memory, the Chinese characters in this world are somewhat similar to the Sani of the Yi people on Earth. A variation of the nice writing system that has been passed down from ancient times. When Xiaoping was studying the history and culture of domestic ethnic minorities, he found that the writing system NIS passed down by the Sani people of Yunnan since ancient times was very interesting. The NIS text passed down by the Sani people has nearly 6,000 characters. After thousands of years, it still maintains the original style of the oldest writing. Compared with the symbols carved on the painted pottery unearthed in Banpo, Xi'an, more than 75% are identical or similar. The 4 depiction symbols of lonely soul are exactly the same, and some words are somewhat similar to Khitan characters. The Chinese characters in this world are also similar to Nice. Because of this, no one can understand the mysterious inscriptions in the boundary pearl. Even if they know it, no one probably knows what the inscriptions mean, because the history and legends of this world have not changed since the creation of human beings by Empress Nuwa. It's completely different on Earth. However, in Xiaoping's eyes, the sacred characters in the boundary beads that no one could understand were just 3 small seal scripts written together from top to bottom. Flint. People. She. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 20. Xuanhuan was the first person to bring the light of fire to Chinese civilization and even mankind. In Western legends, it was Prometheus who brought fire and light to mankind, but Prometheus was a god rather than a human being. However, in China, it was the Chinese ancestor Xuanhuan who was the first to invent the method of drilling wood to make fire. Got fire, and Xuanhuan was a human being, not a god. This is where the genetic distinction between civilizations arises. One is a god who controls everything, and the other is a man who can also become a god. Because the historical line is completely different, there is no Empress Nuwa in this world to mend the sky, so there is no legend of the Xuanhuan family in this world. What do the 3 characters Xuanhuan on this divine fire world bead mean? Could it be that the divine fire that ignites the summoner has anything to do with the Xuanhuan clan? The similarity between the two is fire. Xiaoping's heart was in turmoil. Holding the world bead, he was almost stunned. The impact of this small world bead on Xiaoping at this moment is no less than the impact the world has had on Xiaoping in the past 20 years or so. Xiaoping's heart was beating wildly, and he vaguely felt that a door to a new world was slowly opening to him, and the world behind the door made him tremble. While Xiaoping was in a daze, a huge display screen slid down from the wall in front of Xiaoping. Mo Yanxiao's face appeared on the electronic display screen, and his voice suddenly sounded in the room. There are communication and monitoring equipment in this room, which facilitates people outside to understand the situation in the room. People in the room can also communicate and consult with the outside world through the equipment here. For those who are preparing to fuse the world beads for the first time, this arrangement is more friendly. Because many people are very nervous or even at a loss when they fuse the world beads for the first time. Xiaoping, what you have in front of you now is the Divine Fire World Pearl. Before the fusion officially begins, you don't need to be nervous. The summoner is mysterious and powerful. Many people think that the summoner is an untouchable existence and have doubts and even inferiority complex. But in fact, as long as the mind is normal and the body is healthy, regardless of status, after the age of 18, it is possible to become a summoner and can fuse the world beads. In ancient times, some powerful summoners did not even know how to read or write before becoming summoners. I haven't read much, so you don't need to be nervous. At this time, Xiaopinggan, who was staring at the boundary bead in his hand, was still immersed in the shock brought by the 3 words on the boundary bead. His thoughts were a little divergent. Mo Yanxiao's words just echoed in his ears. They didn't even look up at the display in front of them. Because of the mystery of the separated world, although I have fused the divine fire world beads before, I can't tell you what will happen after fusing the world beads. How can you ignite your divine fire? The mystery of the separated world beads is something that all summoners know. It is an insurmountable law, but since ordinary people in ancient times who have not read books can integrate the world beads and become summoners, then you must also believe that you will not be worse than them. Have this confidence. Mo Yanxiao's voice echoed in the room. In a hall of the building's information center, a huge electronic monitoring screen displayed the situation in room 999. Young Master Mo Yan, who was standing in the hall, looked at Xiaopinggan, who was sitting motionless in front of the table holding a boundary bead on the huge electronic surveillance screen in the hall. He thought Xiaopinggan was a little nervous, so he was giving instructions. Xuanhuan, the legendary summoner of the Huaxia kingdom 2000 years ago, lived for more than 700 years. Xuanhuan was originally a shepherd boy. He accidentally picked up the world pearl and started to fuse it. Before his death, Xuanhuan left his last words to all the summoners. That sentence has become the standard for all summoners, and now, I give that sentence to you. Mo Yanxiao's eyes swept over Xiaopinggan's downcast face on the screen, and then he said solemnly, every world bead is a mission, a life, a legend. To become a summoner is to fulfill one's mission, to pursue those lost legends, unite one's own kingdom of God, and bring the light of the kingdom of God to the world to illuminate the future of China and the human race. These are the words left by the legendary summoner Xuanhuan to all summoners, hoping to you're inspired. Hearing these words, Xiaopinggan suddenly raised his head and looked at Mo Yanxiao on the huge monitor in the hall. Thank you, this was the first time I saw the G bead just now, and I couldn't help being attracted to it. Now I'm almost ready and can fuse. Any more questions? There is none left. Young Master Mo Yan also breathed a sigh of relief. The sentence just now is the motto of many summoners, and it is also the key for summoners to understand the world beads and the power of summoners. Now, if you are ready, use the sterilized silver nail in the box, prick your finger and drop your blood on the boundary beads to activate the fusion. Xiaopinggan looked at the box containing the boundary pearl. Sure enough, there was a small silver nail in the box. He took a deep breath, calmed down his mood for the last time, then took out the silver nail and pierced it with the silver nail. With his own fingers, he dropped a few drops of blood on the divine fire world bead. The blood dripping onto the boundary bead was absorbed by the boundary bead in the blink of an eye. The divine fire boundary bead suddenly shone brightly, and a thick blood-red mist floated, wrapping Xiaopinggan's entire body like a huge cocoon of light and same as eggs. In just a moment, Xiaopinggan's figure gradually disappeared in room 999. On the electronic screen in the hall, only a huge ball with flashing red light was left. The situation inside the ball was difficult to predict outside. Perception. Xiaopinggan in the ball felt that his eyelids were getting heavier and heavier. Unknowingly, his entire consciousness fell into the deep darkness and entered the mysterious and unpredictable dreamland. I don't know how long it took, but there was a roar in his head, and all the feelings returned to his body. Xiaopinggan suddenly opened his eyes, only to find that he was no longer in room 999, but suddenly in a strange place, on the slope outside the cave entrance. The sun was shining brightly all around, the sky was so blue that it seemed fake, the air was filled with the smell of fresh negative ions, and there were endless forests and wilderness at the foot of the hillside. There was a river nearby, and further away, there were endless mountains. There were many people around, all busy. Just looking at those people's bodies wrapped in leaves, grass, and animal skins and what those people were doing, Xiaopingan found that he seemed to be in an ancient era. In the tribe, everyone is busy. Some people are cutting animal meat with stones, some are collecting firewood in the wilderness, others are picking fruits from the trees, some are knocking and grinding stone tools, all of them are wearing disheveled hair and only wearing leaves. They wore animal skins for clothing and no shoes, just like the savages. There are nests built on the big trees nearby. Many men were patrolling back and forth around the tribe, holding wooden spears with sharpened ends and burned with charcoal. Xiaopingan was also one of these people. He looked at his naked upper body and the circle of animal skins around his waist, as well as the wooden spear in his hand, and the long hair scattered on his head. And suddenly took a breath of air. Is this a dream? He pinched his hand, and the pain felt the same as his real body. He tried to hold his breath for a while, but in just a moment, Xiaopingan's face turned red from holding in his breath. The endurance of his lungs reached the limit, and his face turned red from holding in his breath. He gently pricked his finger with the carbonized tip of the wooden spear in his hand. A stinging sensation came, and then drops of blood appeared on his finger. This stinging feeling was the same as pricking it with a silver nail just now. It's exactly the same when broken finger fuses the world bead. This is not a dream. Dreams cannot be so real. The feeling here is exactly the same as the real world. If he died in this world, Xiaopingan suspected that he might never wake up again. Outside, it is possible that his own head exploded. This may be the reason why the summoners failed to get a headshot in the fusion world bead, because they died in this world. Is this the world you enter after fusing the world pearl? The mysterious world of summoners and world beads finally unfolded before Xiaopingan's eyes. Xiaopingan's heart was beating wildly as he carefully observed the surrounding environment.